What impact is this having on you on a day-to-day basis?
I try not to think too much about the future because it does upset me. I'm kind of thinking when John does go, I'm left with a mortgage to pay and 2 young children.
How old are your kids?
5 and 3.
Right.
Yeah. So it's incredibly tough.
And are you working?
I haven't worked since having the children.
Right.
And that's a decision we made when we had children.
In the grand scheme of things, this amount of money is a drop in the ocean for a company like Zurich.
Yes, because I think they could make all this go away.
I've read some of the statement. Zurich's saying, we're sorry to hear of the very difficult circumstances Mr Rendler's family are experiencing. You're terminally ill, and they're calling that difficult circumstances.
The People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You're with GB News. It's 11 o'clock. In a moment, headliners. But first, let's run you through the day's headlines. And in Normandy in France, the Duke of Cambridge has thanked D-Day veterans, saying they served for our freedom and demonstrated great heroism. Prince William was addressing senior world leaders at the international commemorative event this afternoon, paying tribute to those who took part in the biggest amphibious operation in the history of warfare. Speaking at the event held at Omaha Beach, His Majesty the King also praised the American, Canadian and British troops who landed there exactly 80 years ago today.
It is with the most profound sense of gratitude that we remember them and all those who served at that critical time. We recall the lesson that comes to us again and again across the decades. Free nations must stand together to oppose tyranny.
His Majesty the King. Well, here in the UK, hundreds of D-Day beacons have been lit right across the country tonight to honour the World War II heroes. The first flame was lit tonight at His Majesty's Naval Base in Portsmouth. And earlier on today, in Northern Ireland, Lisbon's town crier delivered a D-Day 80 proclamation from the historic balcony of the town's Linen Centre. And in Scunthorpe in Lincolnshire, the Armed Forces flag was raised, followed by a tri-service march past. Meanwhile, the Princess Royal joined Chelsea pensioners at the Royal Chelsea Hospital in London for a special D-Day review parade. And commemorations have also taken place in Worksop in Nottinghamshire today, with military personnel laying wreaths in honour of the fallen. Well, despite those D-Day commemorations in France, around 80 migrants attempted to cross the English Channel this morning. Their boat got into difficulty about 10 miles off the coast of Kent, with dozens of people reported to be in the water. A rescue was launched by the Coast Guard, RNLI lifeboats and UK Border Force officials, including helicopter support. Among those brought ashore were 3 children, including a baby. And it comes as new Home Office figures reveal that more than 7,500 migrants arrived in the UK by small boat in the first 4 months of this year. That's the highest level since records began. Almost 40 people are being treated in hospital tonight after an outbreak of E. coli, which can cause stomach cramps and fever. The UK Health Security Agency says most of the cases reported across the country are part of a single outbreak, likely to be from a popular item of food. And they said that without revealing which food type or item that was. Drones and helicopters are being used in a major search operation tonight for the TV nutritionist Dr. Michael Mosley, who's gone missing on the Greek island of Symi whilst on holiday. It's understood he left to go on a walk but didn't return to his accommodation. The 67-year-old is known for appearing on programmes like This Morning and the BBC's One Show. An appeal's been launched in Greece urging anyone who spots him to get back in touch with local police. And football news, Jack Grealish and James Maddison have been left out of the England squad for Euro 2024. Manager Gareth Southgate said he had to make some difficult decisions, trimming his list to 26 players. Harry Maguire also missing out because of injury. But Man United's left-back Luke Shaw, who hasn't played any football since mid-February, has been included. England open their campaign a week on Sunday against Serbia. That's the news. For the latest stories, do sign up to GB News Alerts. Scan the QR code on your screen or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello and welcome to Headliners. I'm Nick Dixon, taking you through tomorrow's top stories for the next hour with the help of Cressida Wetton. There she is in a lovely jacket. And despite Lewis Schaefer, I've gone with. See what I went with there, Lewis?
Oh, I see. You know what? It might be, tonight might not be the day for me.
Yeah, I'm feeling it already from that initial comment, which didn't really make sense.
Strong start.
yeah. How are you doing anyway? I haven't seen you guys. I haven't seen Lewis for ages. Where have you been?
I've been here when you haven't been here.
Oh, OK, yeah, I asked for that with HR, sent a few emails. I just said, you know, it's OK, he's all right, but in moderation. Yeah. I use the phrase in moderation.
Unfortunately, a lot of people say that.
Yes, we get a lot of feedback along those lines.
It's a moderate amount of Lewis Schaefer.
Yeah.
Yes, just 1% is enough for me for about a month.
Homeopathic Lewis Schaefer, the right amount.
That's a good reference. All right, excellent banter as ever. Let's crack on and do the front pages then. So the Daily Mail has male health guru Michael Mosley missing in Greece. The Telegraph in the footsteps of heroes, which is, of course, a reference to D-Day. The Guardian, pressure on Tories to return 15 million donations after new Hester claims. That's Frank Hester. We'll be getting into that in a minute. The Times, green anti-Semitism storm. The Eye has reform surges again as new polls show Farage effect. And finally, the Daily Star, we agree with Nigel, which isn't Nigel Farage, it's just a bloke called Nigel. And those are the front pages. So what are the Guardian going with, Cressida?
OK, the Guardian, pressure on Tories to return £15 million donations after new Hester claims. So Frank Hester is in trouble again. This is some more naughty, bad behaviour that's resurfaced recently. It's alleged that he used the term token Muslim, imitated people of Chinese descent and said a person was attractive for a black woman. This is not good. This is in addition to the stuff that we already know about. The Diane Abbott stuff, yeah, exactly. So the Conservative Party is facing questions about this. Although a spokesperson for the Conservative Party has said they consider the matter resolved because he's previously apologised for his unsavoury remarks. But obviously the other side aren't going to let it go that easily, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't the whole point of being rich that you can say outrageous stuff, Lewis?
You can say outrageous stuff in your own company and they're not going to fire you. But when you start giving money to the politicians, they're going to get upset. We don't know what the truth of it is. It just could be like another Me Too story. You know, they got all these people saying he said this, he said this. We don't know the entire... It's like us being comedians. You say something and it could be misconstrued in a bad way.
Right. But there's Me Too and Me Too, isn't there? There's like touched your knee in 1974. Then there's your Harvey Weinstein serial dodginess.
This has said something in 1984, whatever it is. This is...
Well, no, it's in the 2021, I believe.
It's somebody is accusing him of saying something. We don't know the context. We don't know the entire thing. They got enough people coming up. Remember, two-thirds of the country are now Labour, so they're not going to want him giving money to the Conservative Party. I don't know if we know the truth.
Well, someone says here, I heard Frank on several occasions use a mocking Chinese accent when saying certain phrases or repeating something an Asian colleague said. It felt humiliating to be so obviously othered in front of a large group. So I made you look bad now because you were saying, oh, it's not anything that bad. I just read it out. It sounds quite bad.
Well, because maybe he was making fun of his friend who wanted to be made fun of. What's wrong with making fun of it? I don't know. I can't.
You do a lot of accents in the office.
I don't do any accents.
He can't.
Thank God.
He's just got this one New York.
You can only do one guy. Yeah.
You know what I'm good at? I'm good at sitting right here. That's all I can do. Not say anything.
And talking about yourself.
You're not good at sitting there and not saying anything. That's an absolute lie.
That would be great if you were.
Saying anything of value. The point is, I'm taking this guy's side. And I think they should give the money back because Labour's going to lose so badly. What does it matter whether they give?
No, Labour are quite likely to win.
The Tories
wins so well. Yeah,
Wins so well.
It's all right, you're right. I mean, they're going to keep the money, so it doesn't matter. But just for balance, I radically disagree with you, and I'm against all this kind of thing.
Well, we should be nice to people.
Exactly.
We don't know.
That's what I've always said. Let's do the Times then, Lewis.
This is the Times. The Times, green anti-Semitism store. This is in the Times.
Do you just say that? I've been off a few days. You just say the name of the paper now in a sort of loud voice.
Well, because you got to know, like the past story was in the Guardian, and they were like Me Tooing.
But I say the paper already, so you didn't need to say it again. Anyway,
it needs to be said again to remind myself what this is.
This is the Times.
This is the Times.
Right. It's like a memory prompt. Okay.
Because all these papers are such garbage. So you need to know which it is. Anyway.
Welcome to Headliners, where we review newspapers.
This is in the Green
that are
Party,
all garbage.
Which is they've been accused of anti-Semitism, which is basically a lot of people are voting for Green because Green has become the party of the Palestinian cause. I think it used to be just the party of like old-style Germans.
It was Wales and stuff, wasn't it?
Which is like anti-Semitism. It was a different kind of anti-Semitism.
I thought it was about like it used to be about like there's not enough whales in the sea, and now it's about like shouting Allah Akbar in Blackpool.
It's changed, hasn't it? It's a mixture, and the Greens think they're on course for their best general election result yet.
And they are.
Well, they probably are, aren't they? Because a lot of people who've been angered by Starmer's stance on Gaza might defect to the Greens. That's possible, isn't it?
I saw a poll from something called Electoral Calculus where they really weren't doing very well at all. And, they had like maybe 2 seats, like a tiny amount of seats. But yeah, maybe they will. I mean, obviously they're going to say it. They're the Greens. But what about all these claims that all these people who said things like Hamas had a right to fight back on October 7th? They didn't say this sort of well into the war or anything. It was on October 7th. Or this guy, Adam Pugh, who said apparently the Royal Navy was sending out 2 vessels to the Mediterranean to support Israel. And he said, I hope they sink. I mean, can you say stuff like that and be in the Greens?
Well, you wouldn't think so, would you? You'd think nowadays that would certainly come under some kind of hate speech rules. It doesn't sound appropriate.
It sounds worse than what Frank Hester said, probably. If you're going to compare to... Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because, well, of course it sounds... Does it sound worse?
I don't know, they're both bad. I deplore them all.
These people are at war with... Well, let's call them Zionists. We'll use that term, Zionists. They're at war, and this is how. And they found a home in the Green Party. The Green Party was. I mean, I know a lot of Green Party people. They were lovely, lovely people. But then,
Yeah, but if you are publicly supporting Hamas, a proscribed organisation, that's not okay.
It is okay in their minds just because we prescribe them.
Yes, but not in the view of hopefully in the general public and in the law.
Well, you hope so, but then you hear the news about the young kids and they're all against Israel. So I think you're hoping against...
You're going to have to change your jacket, Cressler, because it looks like you're endorsing the Greens. And they're anti-Semites now. They're not anti-Semites, of course. That's just the opinion of some people. I'm being very careful. I've been off for a while. I don't know what the rules are anymore. Before we get into trouble, let's do the Telegraph, Cressler.
OK, they're going with In the Footsteps of Heroes. So that's the D-Day story. But they've also got Starmer pledges recognition for Palestinian state in manifesto. So the party attempts to tempt back Muslim voters who've been critical of leaders' stance on the Middle East. That's exactly it. So according to multiple reports, the dossier, this is what the stuff in their manifesto, will state that a neighbouring country, a likely reference to Israel, do you think it might be, must not have a veto over the granting of Palestinian statehood. And what's really significant about this is that it puts the UK out of step with key allies, including the US, who won't recognise Palestine unless it's part of a longer-term peace settlement.
Yeah, and it's a tricky one for old Starmer, isn't it? Because he's always got to appease people. He's got to seem sort of normal enough for the general bloke to vote for him, but he's also got to appease the far-left nutters and plus the Muslim vote, who are not so keen traditionally on Israel. So he's kind of trying to walk that line, Lewis.
Well, it looks like he's going to win. We don't know what these polls are really. He looks like he's going to win, but... He's thinking, well, let's see if we can pick up a few of the Green votes and kind of maybe kill the Green Party. So that's what that is. But it also is they believe it. Remember, Israel was part of Britain for quite a while. Not actually that long, but maybe 20, 30, 40 years, whatever. They took over. I don't remember when they took over, but whatever, they took over. And the truth is that Britain wasn't that big supporter of the state of Israel initially, and wasn't a big supporter.
OK, a little bit of history there from Lewis Schaefer, but let's quickly do the Daily Star then, Lewis.
Oh, this is good news. This this website interviewed some crazy guy in the street. He said, we agree with Nigel. That's what the Daily Star says, which is a very interesting paper. And he said, basically, I don't know who to vote for, and I don't care. And that's...
I'd like to push back on the idea that this guy's crazy, especially coming from Lewis Schaefer. I think the idea of this man is that he's supposed to speak for the average person on the street.
Yeah, I mean, he's saying they kind of say they're sick of them all. A lot of people are saying that, the Unit Party and so on. But there are now decent alternatives to vote for. I mean, I can't say anything about it. I could get in trouble with Ofcom. But you can vote for a variety of parties. I think that's what I'm allowed to say.
Yes, and he makes reference to that in the clip.
Or you can not vote.
And the strength of Britain, which is the two major parties are very similar to each other because of the way the parliamentary seats are divided. So you don't have too much craziness. You do have some craziness. You don't have... No, there's not...
See how careful we're all being because we're in this election cycle. None of us know the rules. It's even stopped Lewis Schaefer talking. You were thinking, like, what can I say? I thought just say Team World or something and get out. That's my...
Well, that's the other thing. These well, three quarters of it are Team World. You know, half the Tories and all of the Labour and most of the Labour are Team World.
I don't think that's their official position, but it's good to get your take.
It is their official... It's not their official position. They say we're against migration happening, but they're not stopping it. So that's their position.
OK, and I'm voting for Lewis Schaefer in Nunhead. Those are the front pages done. But coming up, bad news for Labour and the SNP, but good news for Donald Trump. Sounds like a tremendous section. See you in a minute.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is about the Biden administration kind of resisting calls from Harry's lawyers whether or not this ongoing thing about releasing his visa records over the alleged, in Spare, he admitted to taking, remember his memoir Spare? He admitted to taking cocaine, marijuana and magic mushrooms. And a lot of people are saying, was he honest and truthful in his application, in his visa application? You have to say, have you taken drugs? He said no, and then in Spare he said yes. So I think this is absolutely fascinating. They're saying they can't release these records because there is a stigma attached to law enforcement records. Yes, there's a stigma attached to that, but then don't say... I mean, you know, everybody else, if you write yes on a visa application, you will be chucked out of the United States. You will be denied entry. So I think this is fascinating that on this issue of whether there is a stigma for Harry or not, he can have his law enforcement records not released into the public domain.
The bottom line is, do we want him back?
So what's interesting is it seems to be becoming a political dividing line in the States because Biden is the administration trying to do Harry a favour by keeping them under wraps, but Trump has promised that he will, you know, that the file will be made public if he wins again.
Trump's been very strong on this. He said, you know, if Harry lied, then he's out.
The one thing about America is that politicians make ours look sane. Which is saying something.
I'm slightly confused about this whole story because, OK, sure, Prince Harry has said this. How many pop stars, rock stars, movie stars, like every
the difference is, well, I don't think it's just British. I think millions of Brits, to be fair to them, lie on the form every year. Millions of people from around the world lie on the form every year. Not, of course,
I'm not going to name any pop star specifically, but I would be mightily surprised if any hadn't indulged in what...
Yes, but of course they haven't given written evidence in their biography that they have, and that's the difference.
Britain's election channel.
This is GB News and we are Britain's election channel.
This vote may seem to be about the politicians and the media, but actually it's about you.
And we won't forget that.
Join us up and down the country as we follow every moment together.
More than ever, it's important to hear
all sides
as you make your decision ahead of polling day.
We're here for you.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's election channel.
I'm Isabel Webster. Thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth,
it's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Nick Dixon, still here with Cressida Wetton and Lewis Schaefer. He just told her not to cause trouble, but it's always you that causes trouble, Lewis.
No, she is. She's always goading me. That's the thing. People don't
In the break, she goads you, and then you go...
wouldn't melt in my mouth, Lewis.
Right, exactly. Let's do the mail then. And a blow for Labour, whose favourite voting demographic is, of course, people who know nothing about life, Cressida. Just a joke, satirical content.
Brilliant. Blow for Starmer as poll finds majority of public oppose lowering the voting age to 16 in damning verdict on Labour's flagship policy. I didn't think of this as Labour's flagship policy. Did you?
No.
Anyway, that's what the Daily Mail thinks.
It's a very minor ship. It's a dinghy hanging out the back of the ship somewhere.
I mean, I know it's one of their things. Clearly, it would suit them if 16-year-olds could vote. That would be great for them. But I didn't think of it as a flagship policy. And it shouldn't be because most people are not into it. It's not popular with voters.
Except presumably 16-year-olds themselves.
Well, but they aren't actually asked in this.
Right.
It says more than half of 18 to 24-year-olds back the proposal. But so the 16-year-olds aren't...
They're not being asked, no.
included in this.
That'd be silly.
But only 1 in 5 over 65s, which is what you'd expect.
But what does that mean? You ask an 18-year-old, you back 17-year-olds voting, and only half of them say yes. So, and who cares about those people? I've got 2 kids that age, almost that age, slightly older than that, and I don't trust myself. And what this is...
You're a bit older than 16 and you still don't trust yourself.
Yeah. I like the way they call it the flagship of the Labour Party. It's not the flagship. Socialism is the flagship. Communism is the flagship.
You should have brought that up at the beginning. Oh, I did.
Yeah, you didn't say that. I said that.
She said the whole bit on flagship.
This is recorded.
I wasn't paying attention.
That's clear. That is clear to the
when
nation.
When I talk, he just says, ming, 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 ming.
Yes, exactly. I'm saying that.
When you're talking, it's just a voice going, oh, I wonder if I've eaten enough meat today. That's all. The inner monologue of Lewis Shane.
Yeah, that is the inner monologue.
I'll tell you something else that's interesting about this poll. They asked who would be the best Prime Minister, and 38% have gone for Starmer, 19% have gone for Rishi, and 43% have said they don't know. So
people don't know anything, do they?
They're not very...
Most people shouldn't vote. Let's be honest. Never mind 16-year-olds. Most people shouldn't vote. People don't know anything. Maybe I can vote. I wouldn't even give Lewis the vote. I'd probably give you the vote, probably. But,
Thanks,
let's see how the show goes.
Well, what did what's his name say about voting? He didn't like it.
Who was that, Lewis? What's his name? Didn't like it.
One of your guys. I think it was Churchill.
That is poor even by your standards.
No, he liked it, but he thought had all the problems.
One of your guys, Churchill, liked it, but he didn't like it.
Well, didn't he say something like...
the best of a bad...
It was talking about democracy. It's the worst. It's a terrible system, but it's better than all the other ones.
Yes, exactly. That's what he...
OK, good. We got there in the end. Well, people don't develop their prefrontal cortex, they reckon, until about 25. So that's right. I'd put the voting age at 30.
So it should be higher.
Yeah, higher. It's 30 minimum.
Not lowered.
That would be normal. Let's do the Telegraph then. And bad news for Greta Thunberg. Oil and gas are back, baby. Lewis.
Yes, this is really good news. Oil and gas investment surges in blow for net zero. And this is the International Energy Agency, which I think is part of the UN or might be part of the UN. It says that people are spending a lot more... people. The whole world is spending over $570 billion on improving the delivery, the digging up, however they make fossil fuels, because there's no such thing as a fossil fuel. It's
shots fired. Really, go on, then, Lewis. Explain
this. No, it isn't.
People at home playing the Lewis David drinking game.
It's not made from animals falling into the ground and then digging it up, because there's fossil fuel all over that world, all over this Titan. You've heard of Titan, which is a sort of a planetary body outside Saturn or something, and it's got... Why are you looking at me like that?
So far, just wait and see where you're going with this.
I'm saying...
I know that you figured out that water dehydrates you.
Yes.
And other things
and
aren't.
It can, if it doesn't have...
Right, but I've never heard that fossil fuels aren't real yet. So
No, I'm not saying they're not real, but most of it doesn't come
everywhere.
From fossils. It doesn't come from animals or plant life, that the Earth has been sitting there for billions and billions.
It comes from Titan.
It's in the world. Oxygen meets hydrogen meets carbon, and you've got it anyway.
But in any event, it is a blow for net zero, isn't it? This information.
Yes, because net zero is completely 100% rubbish, just like COVID was, and I was right about that. And people hated me, and they're probably going to hate me because I think that
wasn't why they hated you.
But although this says it's a blow for net zero, which it is, they're doing really well with the green stuff as well, aren't they? I think it says for every dollar that goes into traditional, not fossil, whatever you don't want to call it, fossil fuels, but I'll use that term, $2 go into the new clean green stuff, which I find really surprising because I wouldn't think people would want to invest in that unless it's just for their, environmental, social and governance score, so they look more virtuous.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly.
To me, this story is about the nonsense of trying to do things like net zero when the developing world, emerging economies, as they call them, will do whatever they want. You know, Middle East, Asia, they're using more fossil fuels. Coal production has gone up by 6% in China, India, Southeast Asia mainly. They're doing what they want. China's making, I don't know the exact stat, but it's something like a new coal plant every 16 seconds. Meanwhile, we're going, oh, wind farms. They're just pointless.
It is absolutely pointless. People like it warm. It's the greatest thing that's happened to human beings. That's why our population has gone sky high, because we have oil. So just let's enjoy it while it lasts.
And for balance, I love net zero, despite what I just said. Let's do The Guardian. And one of Rishi Sunak's new immigration policies discriminates against women and minorities, but there are also bad things about it, Cressida. I'm sorry. I apologise to the nation.
Not sorry at all.
I apologise to my family.
UK's minimum income visa requirement faces High Court challenge. So, under intense pressure to get his pledges sorted, a while ago, Rishi said, right, if you're going to bring loved ones here, you've got to earn more. So it used to be you only had to earn about £18,000. It's now up to £29,000 a year, and it's going to go up to £38,700 next year. So there's now been an application for judicial review filed by this pressure group, who are called Reunite Families UK, and they're saying this is all contrary to the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, because what can happen in some cases is that they get separated from their parents.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is, you know what, I've actually been in this situation. I was trying to get something into the country, decided not to in the end, and I'm glad now because I'm so anti-immigration. But it is tough. You know, you have to earn quite a lot of money. You're there already. You're trying to bring your partner in, or I can imagine it is very tough. So I'm not going to be as hard-line as people might expect me to be on this. But you do have to cut immigration somehow. So something's got to give. What do you think, Lewis?
I think something's got to give. This is not the thing that's going to give. I think the most important thing is you just stop people from coming into the country in the first place, and then they can't ask for their people to come. That's number one. They let in like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people into the country. That's number one. Number two is that this is not going to happen.
What's not going to happen?
I did wonder if it was a bit Rwanda-y. I thought, are they going to be able to enforce this? It's something that we're talking about pre-election. Labour is saying that they'll broadly support this as well. But is it going to be implementable?
I don't think it is. Thank you for asking me that question.
I don't know. I think this one, maybe I'm wrong. This one seems like it can come in because it's quite straightforward. I mean, they've already had, like, as you say, you had to earn 18,600, but you also had to have an absurd amount in savings at one point. There's an equivalent you can have in savings, but the amount is always so high that it's kind of ridiculous. So I don't know. Maybe they will bring this in. It's a blunt way of doing it. But to be honest, these things have never made any impact really. I mean, Theresa May was talking about, oh, let's get it down to the tens of thousands using these kind of methods. They don't work. We just need a big wall, a big beautiful wall.
Yes.
I suppose we got the sea, so we need a big beach. I don't know.
Need a wall by the sea.
Yeah, ideal. All right, let's do the Telegraph then. And the SNP accidentally forgot to spend £134 million. We've all been there, Lewis.
Yes, this is unforgivable, according to the Telegraph. It's unforgivable waste that this is the Scottish National Party in Scotland was given £134 million by Europe. What is Europe giving them money for? That's our country. That's England's country, is Scotland. It's part of us. It's like if somebody can't...
Interesting.
I don't know if
That's England's country is Scotland.
I don't know if I...
You mean Britain? You're referring to Britain?
No, I mean England.
Oh, you mean Scotland should be part of England?
No.
That's new.
Well, wasn't it always? We called it Britain, but it was always part of it.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So just England, it's just all England.
It's all England all the time. I don't even...
So should America, by the way, because we invented America, and that was English people.
Yeah, but you let go of us because it was too much trouble to keep us.
No, there was a whole fight in 1776.
There was a Revolutionary War. So
anyway, a bit more history with Lewis.
Like if someone's giving me my wife, say if I had a wife, or whatever she is if they gave her money, if some guy gave her money, I would be upset about that. I'd say, why?
So you're not upset that the Scottish politicians have kind of let the time tick on this and they've wasted the opportunity. You're upset that the EU offered this money to Scotland in the first place.
Yeah.
Don't you think the biggest part of this story is that somebody in the public sector didn't spend the budget when they could have done?
It's mad. I mean, they're claiming they can run a country and they want it to be a whole separate country, but they can't run a budget. And also, my theory is maybe Scotland's just so small and everything's so cheap there, they just couldn't spend it. You know, when you go up to Scotland, you're like, a beer's like £1.30. Like, I've gone back in time. I don't think beer, but it's very cheap when you got there.
Edinburgh.
I don't think it's that.
It's still cheap compared to London. I mean, they couldn't spend... They should spend it on trying to find a leader who isn't awful. How about
You're
that?
making it sound like it's easy to spend money. That right now...
I could spend £134 million.
That is what the public sector
didn't.
It does. They're very good at spending money.
They can, but then sometimes they got 130 million. What are we going to spend it on? You got to get the plans ready.
I mean, it is the joke about Scottish people. They are stingy. So, I mean, this just seems like factual proof of that. Let's do the Mail quickly. And Trump is leading Biden by 5 points in Georgia. Apparently, many people are saying it's the best 5 points they've ever seen, Cressida.
Very nice. Trump leads Biden by 5 points in first major poll taken after the hush money verdict in crucial swing states. So this is in Georgia. Numbers released show that 49% of Georgia registered voters supported Trump, while 44% backed Biden. So it's not a huge difference, but Trump's going ahead, isn't he?
Yeah, and it shows that the dodgy trial hasn't really done anything. I mean, 22% of registered voters said the guilty verdict makes them less likely to cast a ballot for Trump, but 23% says more likely, so it cancels each other out.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Lewis?
I think that's the problem. The problem is, like they said, among Democrats, 98% agreed with the jury's decision and 1% disagreed. But among Republicans, 86% disagree. It's the exact opposite. Yeah. And that's why we're heading towards war. We're all going to die. This is just proof of that the people are so divided. It's like there's no Venn diagram in this thing. And it's bad news.
You think civil war's coming to your country? Is that why you fled to here?
I didn't even think about it, but I think we're gonna have a different kind of war here. I've told the people for 2 years.
You told the people.
That's so sad. He keeps running away from conflict, and there it is wherever he goes.
Well, that's exactly true. You know what? That's my problem. I've had jobs.
I believe you.
Yes, and they've turned on me. The jobs have gotten bad.
Yeah.
Women that I've gone out with.
Yeah, and what's the one common factor? And you're like, oh, it's Lewis. Anyway, OK, that got weird, but civil war's coming to America. But that is it for part 2. But coming up, Germany cracked down on criminal immigrants. Radiohead get in trouble over Israel. And for some reason, we're training China's army. See you soon.
Hello and welcome to your evening GB News weather forecast brought to you by the Met Office. So some rain and showers around, particularly for northern areas tonight, but clear spells as well. We've still got low pressure up to the north of the UK, bringing various secluded fronts across the UK as we go throughout the rest of this evening. But looking at the detail, any showers across England and Wales will slowly fizzle out this evening, leaving plenty of clear spells. That's going to help those temperatures drop into the low single figures, and we could even see a touch of grass frost in some rural spots tonight. Across northwest Scotland, though, there's a band of heavy rain making its way southeastwards as we go into the early hours of Friday. And along with this, we will see some quite strong blustery winds. So it'll make for quite a wet commute across much of Scotland on Friday morning, with that heavy rain making its way southeastwards, feeling pretty chilly in those blustery winds as well. As we look further south, we have got some clearer skies to start the day, so some brightness, particularly further south across southeast England, but also a few showers, particularly across the southwest, and they will make their way southeastwards as we go through Friday morning. That band of rain across Scotland will also make its way southeastwards into England as we go into Friday afternoon, fizzling out a little bit and just breaking up into showers as it makes its way southeastwards, but introducing a bit more in the way of cloud into parts of England and Wales. Heavy and frequent showers, though, developing behind this across northwest Scotland. We could see a bit of hail and the odd rumble of thunder in those, but feeling pretty pleasant further south with highs of 18 to 20. Now, if we look at what this weekend has to bring, a bit more in the way of cloud to start the weekend on Saturday compared to what we're going to see on Friday morning. It's not quite as chilly a start. A few showers to start the day, but generally clearing away to the southeast into the early afternoon, and further frequent heavy showers across Scotland, and that will continue throughout the weekend, but some uncertainty as we head into the new week.
This is GB News, and we are Britain's election channel.
This vote may seem to be about the politicians and the media, but it's actually about you. We won't forget that.
Join us up and down the country as we follow every moment together.
More than ever, it's important to hear all sides
as you make your decision in the run-up to polling day. This is GB News,
the People's Channel. Britain's election channel.
Hi Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. Let's crack on with the Times. And the German Chancellor says immigrants who commit serious crimes or glorify terrorism will be deported. Crazy idea, but it might just work, Lewis.
It would work, but it's not just the ones who glorify. They're all glorifying. You know, they're all glorifying it. And so you can't kick everybody out.
I don't think they're all glorifying it.
And I don't even know what he means by they're all, so...
I don't mean them all, but I mean them all. Anyway...
For the radio listeners, he did inverted commas there, but we still don't know what he means.
Germans will deport anyone glorifying terrorism. This is the guy Olaf Schultz, or Schultz, however you pronounce his name. He's the German chancellor. And I think this is the Rishi Sunak moment where he's trying to make his people happy because some Afghani guy killed a cop as he tried to kill the person who was saying bad things about Muslims. So he's trying to do something, but there's nothing that can be done because 20% of the German population are made up of people who probably glorify terrorism. That's what they believe. Anybody who I'm not going to say anybody.
But I think this particular case is a lot more extreme. We're talking about somebody that's murdered somebody.
Yeah.
So I don't see why that isn't enforceable. I mean, he's obviously going to go to prison.
Well...
Yeah, no, that part should be... But then they're talking about this glorifying acts of terrorism. They should be deported, and they're looking for legal and practically viable ways. That's the problem. Like, how do you do that, as Lewis said?
So this is, what do we allow on signs in public? What counts as glorification? Big problem.
They don't know. Answer the question, Cressida. Come up with an answer.
But you know what? Well, get on.
Well, one of the things they're debating in here is about sending the guy back to Afghanistan. And some people are saying that you shouldn't do that because if you do that, he's sent home, he's celebrated as a hero, and he'll escape punishment. Well, yeah, but he also can't kill any more German police officers.
Yes, but that's true. But then again, he's a hero. So we should kill.
Yeah, we should definitely be deported. I mean, they're saying there's fears that this will, garner more support for the AfD, which, of course, it surely will.
AfD?
Well, they pronounce it AfD when I've seen actual Germans say it, but OK, try and correct me.
Yeah, but the people don't.
It never goes well correcting Nick Dixon Lewis, but you gave it a good go. Some German can write in and tell us. Some German. The point is, Lewis, and anyone, the point is, it's smart for people like Schultz and any sort of mainstream parties to try and nullify the populist threat by actually doing things like this, actually tackling these things, right? Same with Labour here. They are showing some signs that they recognise finally immigration has to come down. That's the obvious way to deal with this threat of the so-called far right, surely.
Tackling it. I barely understand what's going on in this country. I don't understand what's going on in Germany. But this smells of stupidity. Did you say the word? What word did you?
I said this studio. Doesn't matter. Sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted.
It was a good joke.
Sorry, but it's like, I don't think it's doing anything. That's what it sounds like to me. But I don't know. You can Google me at Lewis Schaefer, maybe buy a cup.
Yes, that's the one thing you've said that is factual. Let's do The Guardian and the controversial two-child benefit cap, Cressida.
Two-child benefit cap is key driver of child poverty in UK, research suggests. So there's been a study, and it turns out that local child poverty rates across the UK correlate very strongly with the percentage of families affected by the two-child benefit cap. So what they mean is child poverty correlates with people that have got lots of kids and possibly can't afford them.
Yeah.
Is my reading of
But to me, it seems so obvious. I mean, is this even a story that the people affected by the child benefit cap are the poorest people? Isn't that a tautology? Why is that a story? The Guardian makes it sound like, at times in this article, like the policy is causing it, providing further evidence that the policy is a key driver of child poverty. It's not a driver of it, it's just that poor people are going to be most affected by this cap, right?
And it's in The Guardian, it's like a warning sign in The Guardian, and they're suggesting that the rest of us give money to these loser families who can't pay for their kids, or the kids are costing them money. And I've had kids, and I know they're very expensive, so maybe these people shouldn't be having money. Maybe they shouldn't... And who are the people... Not money. They shouldn't be having children.
Wow, just full-on old school.
They shouldn't be having... You know what it's like? If you're going to complain about poverty, don't have kids, because there are lots of better ways to spend it than on your kids.
Aren't you, though, Lewis, a financially challenged person that had kids? I'm sorry to say.
I am. That's why I married somebody with a job who was very successful.
He did stop at 2, though.
That's true.
He kept within the cap.
OK, so that's OK then. Find someone rich, stop at 2. Those are the rules.
I didn't stop at 2. She stopped me.
Yeah. Life finds a way of stopping Lewis Schaefer. Let's do the star. And China is recruiting Western military to train the Chinese army. I'm no expert. I mean, I'm no Leo Kearse here, but this seems wrong, Lewis.
It does seem wrong, but this is a non-story because the truth is UK warns China. UK warns China is aggressively recruiting Western military people by offering fat salary. Fat salary. This is the Daily Star. That's what they call it, fat salary.
That's a guy they bring out for the big offers. Have you met Fat Salary? He's a Bond villain.
And it's a non-story because every country is trying to bring in people from other countries. And this is the mistake that we make, is that we've treated China like they're like a nice country, and they're not a nice country. They got a dictatorship. It's like a cult of commies over there. And we should just say that they're not a friend, and if you go to work for them, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and one interesting thing was that they don't tell you initially, they don't mention that the Chinese People's Liberation Army is involved.
Yeah.
So this is why you see the figure, the salary you're going to get, then you're sucked in, you can't back out. It's what happened to me here. I'm actually woke. Once I saw the salary, I was like, OK, GBD, all right.
That's a lie. Yeah, no, it's terrible, isn't it? And at first I thought they meant... I've assumed they meant our military, but they don't mean that, do they? They just mean people who are experts in the technology and pilots.
But those are the military people. Who do you think they were?
No,
They're ex-military. It's not in... They don't put the word ex...
You don't have to... OK, no, it does say military. You're right. It's right there in the headline. Yeah. Well, the point is, it's a high-status thing, isn't it? If you're used to being a high-status person and then you get offered this opportunity, like you say, you don't really know what it is, and then you're in.
Yeah, it's too late. You find out you're part of the CCP and you're helping China defeat the West.
You think
about the money.
When you found out, wouldn't you? I find that...
Yeah.
How do they square that with themselves?
You're torn. You've got the latest iPhone, but you're destroying the West. You're like, this is tricky.
And you know something? That's when people start thinking, I don't like the West.
What's the West ever done for me? Whereas China's given me this iPhone. You see how it happens.
Or it's like me coming to work here. I don't like any of the people here or what they stand for. But
it's mutual. But
nobody else has put me on TV. I'd be at
haven't.
The BBC.
Great points all around. Let's do these, son. And apparently France are finally getting tough on immigration, Cressida.
Ridiculous moment. Brit paras on D-Day jumper forced to show passports to French border chiefs after anniversary drop. So... the paras that have jumped into France have had to show their passports. Brigadier Mark Berry, the commander of 16 Air Assault Brigade, said, "It's something we haven't experienced before, but given the royal welcome we've had from every other feature, it seems like a very small price to pay for coming to France." I don't really understand why this is a big deal. Of course they had to show their passports. They were entering a foreign country, and it makes the point that the US soldiers didn't, but they got there earlier. They'd already shown
But they put
their passport.
They put the whatever, douane, or whatever it's pronounced in French, the border patrol, right in the middle of the field where they were landing. They didn't say, come in when you come. You know, let's take a... Just check it out.
So you're saying that the French went out of their way to accommodate them?
Somebody, we don't know who it was, whether it was Macron on the highest level or whether it was... They don't know who it was.
Imagine it was some border
It was all a bit
control
French,
people.
basically. It should have been like a nice, fun, not fun, but like a good, wholesome gesture, and the French kind of ruined it with officiousness. That's the vibe, right?
Right.
Did they? That's my point.
Well, they ruined it slightly.
What should they have done? Waited until after?
Just nothing, because it's obvious they're part of a sort of an event.
Or maybe they're making a joke. Maybe it was a joke to say, you know, you left and this is what's going to happen.
I don't think it was a joke, but it was just, very French. All right, well, let's do this one in the mail. And when Radiohead aren't right on enough, you know, things have gone a little bit mental at that point, Lewis. What do you think?
Yeah, well, radio isn't right. They're creeps, aren't they? That's that great song that they wrote.
Oh, yeah.
Radiohead faced boycott calls for art washing, Gaza genocide, after guitarist Johnny Greenwood performs with an Israeli guy in Tel Aviv. And they're saying we don't like that because they don't like Israel. And that's what this is. The Palestinians, they're asking us to take their side. And, you know, I don't know what the answer to the Palestinian question is, but I have two fingers for them.
Your cadence is getting more and more like Trump. And they're saying they don't like that. And it's kind of like I'm trying to follow the sentence. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, he is married to an Israeli person, so there is that, Johnny Greenwood. I don't know if that's relevant or not. He's put a fairly decent statement out saying this is about music and I've been playing with these people since 2008 and it's a perfectly reasonable thing. And, you know, I think you can go too far with this stuff. I mean, Paul Simon was told not to play in South Africa, but then he made Graceland one of the great albums of all time. Anyway, I'm ranting. What do you think?
Well, I agree with you. I think that brilliant to see an artist not capitulate. I think an artistic project that combines Arab and Jewish musicians is worthwhile. Great statement. It doesn't have to... I mean, I think BDS are infuriating, and I want to go through their house and check how tidy it is and look at their Google history. I mean, how dare you tell other people what to do to this extent? And I think Radiohead have done really well.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. I mean, they're saying they should apply peaceful, creative pressure. What on earth is creative pressure?
Yeah,
I don't think I want to feel it.
Yeah, you don't want to feel it. It's river to the sea. It's like kill all the people living in Israel who you know, I guess kill them all if they're living there. But mostly it's like kill the Jews. So he's married to a Jewish woman. This is the price you pay when you're married to
you switched radically at the last moment.
So you don't think it's really Radiohead? You think it's the Lady Macbeth factor behind the scenes?
When you're married, you don't want your wife killed, and these people in Palestine...
Some do.
Yeah,
I mean,
some do. Well, I have. And, you do. But he probably loves his wife. He wants to return to Israel. He wants Israel to survive. I mean, that's the problem. What side, you want? It's a very difficult situation.
Yes, I think music should transcend all of this. That's my message. That is part 3 dealt with. But coming up in the final section, antidepressants, the male pill, and the benefits of pretending to be religious. See you in a minute.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
As he kissed her goodbye with...
Ian Phoenix was in charge of a counter-terrorism group dedicated to bringing peace to Northern Ireland. He was a husband and a father.
He was a real Irishman. He had the twinkly Irish eyes. He enjoyed a good joke. He liked a good glass of wine.
Susan Phoenix first heard of the accident that killed her husband on her car radio.
I was just driving along, going, no, no, no. I can still see it. I can still feel it, even 30 years on.
On the 2nd of June, 1994, the Chinook helicopter that was taking them to a peace conference crashed into the side of a mountain on the Mull of Kintyre, killing 4 crew and 25 of the country's top counter-terrorism experts. At a board of inquiry, the Ministry of Defence concluded there was no doubt whatsoever the accident had been caused by the gross negligence of the 2 pilots, Flight Lieutenants Richard Cook and Jonathan Tapper. But there was doubt. Plenty of it. There were no eyewitnesses on that foggy night, no flight data recorder, no voice recorder. It took until 2011 for the Ministry of Defence to admit they had not a shred of evidence. At the time of the crash, systematic errors in the software that controlled the engines had been reported. The MOD had seen its safety budget slashed in the run-up to the accident. In a statement, the Ministry of Defence told GB News, in 2010, the Mull of Kintyre independent review was carried out and the findings were fully accepted. The review did not find new evidence to suggest mechanical failure, and no safety issues with the Chinook Mark II were raised in the report. This weekend, the families have formed the Chinook Justice Campaign. But justice may never come.
The People's Channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. GB News, Britain's election channel.
Weekdays on GB News. Wake up to breakfast every day from 6 a.m. Followed by Britain's newsroom at 9:30. At noon, it's Good Afternoon Britain. Followed by Martin Daubney from 3 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the final part of Headliners. Let's kick off with the Times. And coming off antidepressants is actually easier than previously thought, presumably if you ignore everything happening in the world, Cressida.
Antidepressant withdrawal less common than thought. So the largest study of its kind found that only 1 in 6 patients experienced side effects from stopping the medication, which isn't very high, is it? Because you always hear, oh, don't come off your antidepressants without a plan and a doctor and all of this stuff. But this research thinks it's really not that big a deal.
Yeah. And I'm confident going to Lewis on this that he won't give out any irresponsible information to the nation.
I will. If this is in the Times, which is the biggest drug pusher newspaper. It's basically telling people, take your drugs, everything's fine. If you don't, you're not going to have them. Probably not going to have trouble if you decide to go off of it, but you will have trouble. And I don't know.
Or it's saying come off of it because it's easier to come off.
No, but what his point is that they're making people feel safer to go on them.
Go on them,
Because one of the things that would prevent people from doing it is they think that if they go on it, they might get weight gain, they might... And then they're stuck on this thing they don't want to be stuck on. So
yeah, exactly. And when I went to I went to my doctor in East Dulwich. I live in Nunhead, and she.
Can we get all the street names?
Well, I don't want to give everything, but she said to me, "You look depressed. Here's pills."
Really? Just one look at Lewis Schaefer?
Yeah, so she gave me a prescription for it, and I picked it up. I didn't realize I didn't want the pills. I want other kinds of pills, but I picked it up, and I would be still on those pills today if I had taken those pills.
What's the pill for people that have to work with Lewis Schaefer? Did she mention?
Probably
anxiety.
Probably double the amount of the ones that she gave me. The truth is that. Did they tell everybody in the study they had to stop taking it, and have you experienced anything? No. It's probably the people who said, I wanted to go off of it. They asked those ones, but the people who wanted to go off of it but didn't go off of it because it was too painful, they were not... I'm not explaining this properly.
Yeah, I've considered taking them, because of everything. But I've chosen the spiritual path instead. You've noticed I'm a changed person lately, much nicer guy. I got Cressida water before. Unprecedented.
Other than that, quite closely modelled on the old version.
All right, well, enough of dissing me. Let's do the star. And I'm pretending to be religious to make a woman fall in love with me. But let's get on to the next story. What's it all about, Lewis?
Yeah, well, that's what old guys do. This is the Daily Star. Daily Star, this is a non-story because it's a story that's...
It's a story.
It's a story with a guy with no name that they've seen somewhere online. They didn't say it was even in Reddit or on Twitter or something.
They do. They said it's in Reddit.
It's in Reddit, which is like nothing. We don't know who the guy is.
That is true, actually.
It is true.
You get anonymous people. It means nothing.
But you know what I said is that when you see a guy reach for stars in the sky, you can bet that he's doing it for some doll.
Wow, you just turned into... Is that from a musical?
That's from a musical, exactly. That's from Guys and Dolls.
Oh, Guys and
Dolls,
Dolls,
what I think? He's been going to church services and studying the Bible. Some God's going to get in, isn't it? A bit's going to seep in.
Oh,
At some point, he's going to have some guilt. Maybe this is the beginning of the end, because he's starting to have some morals.
The bit that offended me is he says, I don't give a bleep about Jesus. And that is a very risky strategy to be dissing Jesus. I don't recommend it.
In this country, people don't. But you should never... Here's my advice as a man. Don't do that. Don't be seen as being that desperate.
Don't be seen as.
Don't be seen.
Keep your desperation private.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, don't be seen to go to church with somebody even though you don't love Jesus.
No, just don't pretend that you like it, that you're into it, that it's a good thing, whatever. Just, say I'm doing it for you, but just... And then...
And I think you should actually just go to church, be Christian, not worry about the woman too much. But anyway, that's my view. Let's do the Telegraph. And I suppose it was inevitable with men becoming more and more like women that they would end up taking the pill, Cressida.
A male contraceptive is only as reliable as the man taking it. Well, yeah, but you could say that about a female contraceptive, couldn't you?
True.
So there's been some trials for potentially breakthrough treatment. This is a gel that men have to rub on their shoulder. I thought it was a joke when I first... So, but anyway, this thing goes through the skin. Why the shoulders, I don't know. And so the article is saying, well, this is amazing. Women might not have to take the pill, but can we trust men? And I was thinking, yeah, you can trust men, because we're always hearing stories about women tricking men into pregnancy. I think this is the Premiership footballer's ideal product, because now it's in his hands.
The NBA player, exactly,
right.
yeah.
So I don't think you need to worry about that. I think guys would be up for this, wouldn't they? Let's ask the men.
And if men do fail to take it, the birth rate will go up, so that's a win anyway. But, Lewis, rubbing into your shoulders, that feels like they've just done it to humiliate us. Why the shoulders?
Yeah, exactly. They can rub it in. I've had other gels that I've rubbed...
Tell us about them.
But the thing that struck me is saying it's only as reliable as the man taking it. But all contraceptive is only as reliable as the person taking it.
I could have sworn someone else said that.
Did she just say that?
Like seconds ago, almost.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right.
I don't.
That's fine, Lewis.
I'm so sorry. The point of this is...
Some people finish each other's sentences. You just steal mine.
Maybe that's what it is. We're on the same page.
Don't ever say that.
And don't ever say that. But
we're not civil. We are not civil.
So Cressida, what should I say?
About what?
About this, because I took the...
We've got to do another story anyway.
What's your opinion?
So nothing is the answer.
Nothing,
Let's do the Express.
nothing.
And according to a poll, movie casting still isn't absurdly diverse enough, Lewis. That's my spin.
Yeah, they actually... they're upset that actors are acting. that they're not acting, they're being forced to play something else. They're actually being forced to read. This is misrepresentation of minority groups has ruined a movie for 6 in 10 film fans. What is the movie, though? We don't know what the movie is. Has ruined a movie. This is the headline and the thing.
It means any movie. I think you know that. I think that's a little joke you're throwing in. Never quite tell with you, but
I was trying to make a joke.
It was funny. The nation won't get it.
Funny. They won't get it. They won't get it because I didn't even laugh at it. Anyway, the point is that they asked 2,000 people. They said that they don't like to see minority characters being played by majority ones. But I don't like to see minority characters play majority.
Yeah, you never see a white Nelson Mandela. Cresta, we've got about 10 seconds.
It's about DEI, and as usual, it says, we all deserve our voices to be heard, and then the next sentence is, it's great to win. Well, you can't have both, can you?
All right. Great show, but it's pretty much over, so we've got to have another quick look at Friday's front pages. So the Daily Mail has male health guru Michael Mosley missing in Greece. The Telegraph in the footsteps of heroes. The Guardian, pressure on Tories to return 15 million donations after new Hester claims. That is Frank Hester, as we discussed earlier. The Times, green anti-Semitism storm. The Eye has reform surges again as new poll shows Farage effect. And finally, the Daily Star, we agree with Nigel, which isn't Nigel Farage, it's just some bloke. That is it for tonight's show. Thanks to Cresta and Lewis. Headlines is back tomorrow at 11 p.m. If you're watching at 5 a.m, then of course stay tuned for breakfast. But for now, it's good night or good morning, and God bless.
Warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to your evening GB News weather forecast brought to you by the Met Office. So some rain and showers around, particularly for northern areas tonight, but clear spells as well. We've still got low pressure up to the north of the UK, bringing various secluded fronts across the UK as we go throughout the rest of this evening. But looking at the detail, any showers